Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new, welcome. My name is Sandra and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about the first time that I found out that I was having twins. Like I've mentioned before, I am a mom of twins. I think I'm going to start like a year and a half before I actually conceived my twins because I think, well, this is what my husband and I think. This is like our logic to like us having twins, even though it is in our genes. So my husband actually has twins, two sets of twins on his side, and then I have two sets of triplets on my side, and then I believe one set of twins. So it was almost like meant to be. Like I always tell everyone this, it was definitely meant to be. Like there was no dodging that bullet. A year and a half before conceiving my twins, I actually became pregnant with my first child by my husband Adam, and at the time we were not together. I was, I believe, like 21 and he was 20. So I became pregnant by him, and at the time we were just going through a lot ourselves. It just wasn't the, long story short, it just wasn't the right time because I wasn't with him and he had just came back from Puerto Rico and we hadn't spoke for like 2 years. I've known my husband since he was 16 years old. I was 17, so I am a year older than him. We just like I don't really know why, like we just were never in a relationship, but like we just couldn't get along. Like we just had too much baggage and we just had too much like problems that we just couldn't get along. Like now everything is, you know, perfect, not perfect, but everything's like a lot better, because I'm not gonna say we're perfect, we're not a perfect relationship, but everything is definitely a lot better. There's no trust issues like there was back then. Like I feel like that was like a major reason why we weren't together, was because we had so much trust issues and he didn't trust me as much as I didn't trust him. So at the time when I became pregnant, like I said, we were all over the place, and I remember taking a pregnancy test of my first unborn, and I was so shocked. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is not happening. At the time, I was living with my parents, and I mean, I was financially independent. Like, I was paying for everything and like everything that I owned. I even paid rent because my dad was so strict. He didn't let me go anywhere, he didn't let me do anything. So I was like, you know what? If I pay rent, if I pay my bills, like, he has to let me like do what I want. So that's what I would do. And I remember at the time when I became pregnant, I was just so I was just so scared. I remember looking at the test, like I went to CVS and I bought a pregnancy test, one of those clear blue ones, and I remember being so scared. I remember like looking at the test like in disbelief. I called my best friend and she came right over and she was just like, dude, like, what are you gonna do? And I was like, I have no fucking clue. Like, I was so scared out of my mind. I was like, what is my parents gonna say? What is my mom gonna think? I was like, there's no way this is happening to me. So I remember like just sitting on our bathroom floor, like my friend and I, and just like crying and like thinking like my life was over, and thinking that I was gonna be a single mom. And I was like, this is it, I guess. Like, do I tell him? Do I not tell him? Like, how am I gonna show up with a kid, like a whole baby? How am I gonna just out of nowhere, like, you know, eventually people would know that I had a baby, and it's like, how am I gonna show up to this, you know, world with like a whole baby? So I decided to be the bigger person, and I was like, you know what, I can't keep this baby away from him, so I have to at least tell the father of this baby that I'm having a kid. I remember telling him like, listen, I'm pregnant. So I texted him this through Snapchat, and his reaction was like so shook. Like he was like, what the fuck, like I don't believe you. And then I sent him a picture of the clear blue test, and he starts calling me, and I didn't want to answer. I was just like not in the mood to talk or even argue with him. I was just like, I don't want to talk to nobody right now. Like, I just leave me alone, just let me be for a bit. Let me just try to clear my head out. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know what I'm gonna tell my parents. Eventually me and him finally met up, and he was living maybe like 30 minutes away from me. So we finally met up, and I remember I was really sad about it. I will say that he was just really understanding about it. I was the one that was more like tripping out about it, and he was just like, listen, if you decide to go through with this pregnancy, I'm here for you. I will take care of this kid. I will man up and I will be there for you. And sure enough, he did. He dropped whatever problems we had in the past. He stopped talking to whoever he was talking to, and he focused on me and his child. So I did appreciate that in the moment, but also like another part of me, like the part that didn't trust him, was like, there's no way he's gonna do that. There's no way. I'm just gonna be a single mom and I have to accept it. And I think because of all that stress that I was putting myself through, it just led me to have a miscarriage. So around my 21st birthday, that's when I had my first miscarriage, because I was just so stressed out about everything, not only the pregnancy but the father. I was just like, there's no way that this is gonna work out. So I did end up having a miscarriage, and for a long time I blamed myself, because I was like, I knew I was pregnant. I should have gotten medical attention. I should have went to the doctor. I should have been taking prenatal. I should have just closed myself out and just not listened to anyone and just, took care of myself. But I didn't do that. I just let the stress get a hold of me. So long story short, I feel like that pregnancy was the pregnancy that brought us together officially. And we moved out together, and for a year and a half, I believe, we tried our best to get pregnant, and I would take prenatals and it wouldn't happen. Like, I remember missing, after I did have that miscarriage, I missed periods even for 3 months. So 3 months, a month would go by, I would have like very little spotting, and then like a little bit of like very little spotting, and then I would have my period, and then it would stop, and then I would have it for 1 day, and then it would stop. It was just like really irregular. So I know it had a lot to do with the miscarriage. So yeah, that whole year we tried and tried to have a baby. I remember even talking to my mom about it. My mom just advised me to take my medication, to eat, because she thought that I didn't eat. A year and a half passes, and I finally kind of gave up on trying to get pregnant. I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, this is my punishment. Like, God is trying to punish me, because obviously I should have been taking care of myself. Obviously I shouldn't have been thinking about abortion. I shouldn't have been thinking that I was going to be a single mom. I was kind of stressing out a lot. I was like, okay, maybe I wasn't meant to be a mom, which is why I'm not able to conceive. It's been so long. And then one night we were in bed laying down, and I remember watching a TV show. It was a cooking show, and they were grilling up this like big juicy steak. And I'm not a big meat lover. But I'm also not gonna sit there and like hurl over like somebody eating a big juicy steak, or like somebody cooking a steak. Like, I'm not that type of person. I don't get easily grossed out. Even when I'm eating and somebody's talking about something gross, like, it doesn't gross me out. I'll just continue eating. So yeah, we were watching the cooking show, and the guy's grilling up this like juicy steak, like steam going everywhere, and like it just looked fat. Like, it was a fat juicy steak. And I remember looking at it in like disgust. I was like, ugh, like, that looks so gross right now. I was like, why is it making me want to throw up? It's crazy, because I actually told Adam, like, he was laying next to me, and I was like, Adam, please change the channel, because I feel like I'm about to throw up. I was like, I can almost smell it. And so he changed the channel. He was like, yeah, of course, babe, I'll change the channel. So he changes the channel, and like, it just stayed in my mind. I was like, oh my God, and I looked at him again, and I was like, babe, I feel like I'm still smelling that steak. And we hadn't cooked. We actually ordered out, so we hadn't cooked or anything. I was like, babe, I still feel like I can smell it. So I run to the bathroom, and I start throwing up everywhere. I didn't even make it to the toilet. I just start throwing up in the bathroom. And then he runs after me. He was like, are you okay? What's wrong? Like, was it something you ate? I'm like, no. I was like, I don't even know why I'm throwing up. I'm like, I feel like maybe it was because like I'm just being like over dramatic. I thought I was going through like a phase that I was gonna stop eating meat completely. After I threw up, I looked at Adam and I was like, babe, like, I think I might be pregnant. And like, we both looked at each other and we're like, oh my God, like, is this like for real? Like, are we really like pregnant? So I remember this was like maybe like a week before Adam's birthday. So I wanted to make it a surprise for both of us. So I didn't run to CVS like right away and get a pregnancy test. First, I waited, because we just had like so many missed tries, and I just didn't want to be disappointed. I was like, okay, so the day of his birthday, which is September 1st, I'm going to take the pregnancy test, and if it comes out positive, so that's going to be kind of like our surprise together. and if it doesn't, then I'm just not even gonna mention it to him. So September 1st came around and I was so excited to get pregnancy tests. So I ended up going to CVS. I purchased the Clear Blue from there, and it comes in a little pack with the digital one, and it also comes with the ones that are just lines. So I got that, but I also went to the dollar store and I purchased their pregnancy test because if you guys don't know, they are very accurate actually. So I came home and I took the pregnancy test, and sure enough, they were both positive. And I didn't know that pregnant women with twins, the line just comes out like very printed. It comes out like very bright red. I guess maybe because of the levels. Can't really remember exactly what it was. There's like some levels in your body that indicate that you are pregnant. So those levels are very high. That's what translates on the pregnancy test. That's how it was with my pregnancy test. But I didn't realize, because that was technically my first actual pregnancy. When I lost my first child, it was during my first 2 months, so I didn't really get to experience a pregnancy. But now that I think of it, it was a very, very clear red 2 lines, and the digital one just said pregnant, but the ones from the dollar store were very clear, very printed. If I can find them, I'll insert the picture here for you guys. I know I have them somewhere, I just don't know exactly where they're. I ended up saving the dollar store ones because the Clear Blue ones I ended up saving as well because I wanted to keep it as a memory, but they ended up like fading out. The digital one ended up going away, so I still have the ones from the dollar store, and they are very clear, they're very red. So yeah, we were both so excited, so happy, so blessed that I was pregnant again, and I was so thankful as well. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take care of myself. I called my mom, and I remember I didn't even tell her. I remember she knew. Like, I remember calling her, and I was just kind of quiet on the phone, and the first thing she says is, "You're pregnant, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yes, I am. How did you know?" And she was like, I just knew you were." And she was like, "Are you taking care of yourself this time?" I told her, "Yes, I am. I'm taking my pills, I'm taking my vitamins and all that stuff. I'm eating well." And I remember she was like, "Okay, now you need to look for an OBG, and you need to get checked up. You need to know how far along you're at." So I remember telling her, "Yeah, of course, like I'm gonna do that, like definitely." So like I said, we found out on Adam's birthday, which was September 1st, and that weekend we had a whole like Disney trip plan. Like, we wanted to go to Islands of Adventure, and then we wanted to hang out in Orlando for a bit. So I was like, okay, I'll do all that stuff once I get back, since this week I'm not gonna be here. In my thoughts, I was barely pregnant. I was like, you know what, I'm barely pregnant. I think it could wait like about a week. So we ended up going to Orlando. I was going on all these like rides, but of course being cautious. If I felt like they were too much, I didn't go on them because I was like, okay, I am pregnant. I'm trying to take care of myself. I'm gonna insert some pictures for you guys so you guys can see how big I was a couple days after I found out I was pregnant, because you guys are gonna be shook by the end of this video. So after the trip, we came back home, and right away I was trying to get insurance. I was trying to find an OBG, and because I didn't know exactly when my last period was, it was kind of really complicated to find out the starting date of my pregnancy. So basically they sent me to a different place. They were like, okay, take a pregnancy test here, like we need them to clarify that you are pregnant, then bring this back, then we start our application, and like you start signing up, blah blah blah. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. So I was just really anxious to find out how far along I was. So we decided to pay at a place that wasn't an OBG. It's just one of those places that you can see the 3D ultrasounds, and you can also get a regular ultrasound pregnancy test. So that's what we did. That was also the day I found out I was having twins. So I make my appointment with this place, and because it's not an OBG, they don't allow you to step in with your partner. It has to be first you stepping in on your own and them giving you the information, and then afterwards, if you want your husband, your spouse, whoever, your boyfriend to come in, then they bring them along. So I remember stepping in first. I get up on the chair, and then she like kind of pushes it back and she lays me down, and I was already nervous as it is. Like, I get anxiety and I become nervous and I hyperventilate, and that's just who I am. I just become very nervous, and I felt like I was gonna pass out already. She starts doing the ultrasound, and I remember her telling me that she was going to search for the heartbeat, and I was like, okay, cool. So she's there taking her time, looking around, double checking. I'm like, okay. I was like, how does everything look? is everything okay? She was like, yeah, very nice, like very, very calm. And I was like, okay, cool. And she's like, there's one, there's two. And I stopped her. I was like, two? What do you mean two? She's like there's two. And I was like my heartbeat and the baby's heartbeat, right? And she was like, no, like two heartbeats, two babies. After she finished telling me that I was having twins, I completely sat up, and I remember like shaking, like my hands were shaking, my body was shaking. I didn't even have a response. I remember I just started bursting in tears, and I just couldn't hold back. Like I wasn't sad, but I was just really, no, I lied. I was sad. I was sad. I was very, very sad. I was very scared. I didn't think I was emotionally prepared for two, because you guys have to think, being pregnant with not just one, two kids, you are forever responsible for two kids. That's scary. Me being a very little person, how am I supposed to give birth to two? I think that was the most scariest moment about my whole pregnancy, is just thinking that I was going to have two, not one, two for my first pregnancy. That was mortifying. I also remember this lady not even congratulating me, or maybe she did. Maybe I'm lying. Maybe she did, but maybe I was just zoned out. I was just crying, zoned out. So she walks out the room and she brings in Adam, because I had told her that she could bring him in whenever she was ready. So she brings in Adam, and Adam walks in and is kind of like looking around like, why is she crying? Like, is she okay? And he even said it. He was like, why is she crying? And the girl goes, oh, well, you guys are having twins. And she's like, it's normal. Like, don't worry about it. She'll be okay. And I remember Adam's reaction, like I could barely see him because I was just like crying, and my nose was just like fucked up. And I remember him like sitting in the chair, and he goes, what? He was just so shook. He goes, baby, we're having twins. Oh my God. He was like, let me see. He wants to see right away. He was so excited. He was excited. I was just like a mess. And I remember walking out, and it's just in disbelief. After that, I just don't even remember what happened. I remember just sitting in the car, and I was just like, babe, how are we supposed to take care of twins? This is our first pregnancy. Oh wait, but get this. So it was even more shocking, the fact that the girl tells me that I'm 5 months pregnant at the time. And I was just shook, because I expected maybe being at the most a month or two pregnant. I didn't think I was 5 months pregnant. 5 months pregnant. Almost half of my pregnancy over with. I didn't show any symptoms until like after I found out I was pregnant, and I had the most flattest stomach. I didn't even look pregnant. I didn't look pregnant one bit. And half of my pregnancy was already over, and I was not taking care of myself. Might have been even taking a drink or two throughout my pregnancy, which scared me to death. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I didn't know I was pregnant this whole time. I should have known. And then all this guilt is coming back, and I'm like, fuck me. So when I was finally able to get to an OBG, I remember explaining that to an OBG, and he was like, no, like, it's okay, you didn't know, just as long as you don't do it anymore. And I was like, of course not. So I was placed in a high risk department because I was pregnant with twins, even though they were in separate sacs. And I believe that's the safest and healthiest way to conceive twins, is when they are separate sacs, separate placenta, and they're not sharing anything. So the pregnancy surprisingly went very smooth. After we found out, like, Adam was just so excited to tell everyone, and I mean everyone, like everyone he possibly knew in his whole life knew that we were having twins, because that's how excited he was to tell everyone, literally. And I remember coming home, and I was like, okay, I guess we got this. Like, I know, you know, God is blessing me with two, because I had a loss for my first one. I was like, definitely, I am gonna be able to go through with this. I am gonna be healthy. I know my kids are gonna be healthy. I know that if I didn't know for such a long time in my pregnancy was possibly so I wouldn't stress, and now I'm past the safe zone, so I should be good. And that day, I remember I had to tell somebody. At the time, we were living maybe 5 minutes away from my mom's job, and I remember stepping in there, and I was like, Mom, I went to the doctor. And she was like, okay. Her face literally just drained. And I was like, don't worry, everything's okay. I was like, I just need to show you this. I need to share this with you because I'm having twins. My mom, this lady, I've never seen her so happy other than recently when she found out she was going to be a grandmother for the second time. So this lady jumps out of her seat and yanks the envelope from me and desperately opens it up and takes out the ultrasound. And since I was so far along, you could clearly see, I'm gonna have that inserted for you guys, you could clearly see the little head, the little body of two fetus. So she starts bawling in tears. She was like, oh my God. She was like, I knew it, I knew it. She was like, I had a dream, because I have a younger sister, and at the time I believe she was like 17. She was like, I knew it, I knew you guys were having twins. One of you guys were gonna have twins. I just knew it, I had a dream. And she turns around to her coworkers and she starts hugging them. And she's like, you guys, look, I'm having twins. I'm gonna have twins for my first grandchildren. And I remember being so happy, so relieved that she was happy for Adam and I. And I remember all the ladies from her job just came and hugged me and congratulated me and were so happy. And they were like, what? Like, what? There's no way. Like, where are the twins? Can't believe they're hiding in that little bump. I had no bump at all. Like, I was completely flat. I wouldn't have known that I was pregnant if I didn't throw up that one night. So yeah, you guys, all in all, my pregnancy was pretty good. Everything went smooth. There was no complications. My delivery story though, that was a whole other trauma. If you guys want to hear about it, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video.